G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website Kangaroo Court of Australia. Now, I've just published an article on the former Prime Minister Scott Morrison and the Governor General David Hurley conspiring to appoint Morrison to a number of ministries. The Finance Minister, the Health Minister and also the Resources Minister, which deals with mining. Now, one of the things that most of the media are missing at the moment is that David Hurley, the Governor General, and Scott Morrison have formed on the board for conspiring to rip off the Australian public. They conspired to rip off $18 million to give to some charity that had no office, no website, no staff, and I don't think it was even registered at the charity at the time. Now, I wrote an article about that back in April, and I've got a quote from it, and I've got a link to it in the latest article I've just published. So if you go to my website, Kangaroo Court of Australia, and read that, you'll see the link there. So that's $18 million they conspired to rip off the Australian public. The Governor General lobbied Scott Morrison directly, and Scott Morrison was the ultimate decision maker. How do we know? Because David Hurley spilt the beans when it was exposed, and he started telling a bit of the truth, but the reality was that David Hurley should have never been lobbying Scott Morrison directly. That is very important because at the moment David Hurley's getting a bit of a free pass. Not enough people asking enough questions. Then if you go back in history, well, you've got things like the alleged war crimes. David Hurley was the head of the defence when a number of those alleged war crimes happened back in 2012 to 2014. I think it was 2011 to 2014 he was a Defence Minister. Then we got the notorious Skype sex scandal back in Canberra. I think it was about 2011 where that was covered up. Wherever David Hurley goes, there seems to be cover-ups happening on a regular basis. And but back to the $18 million fraud, that's very important because why did Scott Morrison have himself secretly appointed to these ministries? The argument for the health ministry is that we're in a pandemic and he needed to be sworn in case there was an emergency. And the minister at the time, Hunt, wasn't able to perform his duties. But what about the finance ministry? Scott Morrison has a long history of financial fraud, and he's been secretly appointed as a finance minister, a secondary finance minister, and there's no doubt that he was signing off on grants or tender processes. He was organising them for his mates. I have no doubt that was happening. We haven't got the evidence yet. But given that he has a history of financial fraud, he was sacked as the CEO of Tourism Australia because a $188 million contract was dealt with in a very dodgy manner by him. And that's why he was sacked, and I have no doubt financial fraud happened there. I've written an article about it. So the point here is that if we just look at Scott Morrison, what he has or hasn't done, and that's not good enough. We need to look at him in that $18 million grant which he conspired with Hurley to rip off the Australian public. It was going to some charity that didn't even exist. That needs to be looked at closely. Was that part of the deal when that Hurley struck with Morrison to secretly sign him up as various ministerial roles that already had ministers? What we really need to be looking at here is the Royal Commission. Anything less isn't going to suffice. Obviously major corruption's happened. Scott Morrison is ducking and weaving. There's no justification for what he did, except people saying, well, why would he do that? Well, obvious answer is so he could secretly sign off on grants and tenders and commit financial fraud, given that he has a history of doing that. And him and Hurley have a recent history of doing that. That needs to be looked at closely. Other than that, make sure you visit my website and you'll be able to read that article I've just published. You can sign up for the free email subscription. I've just set up a Patreon account today, so people can donate very small amounts, any amount. The various tiers I've got is $3, $5, $7, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, or any amount you want. That'll help me to continue to publish these videos, publish articles on my website, etc. And as you know, I also recently set up a t-shirt shop, so you can visit that and have a look at the t-shirts there. Female t-shirts, male t-shirts, youth t-shirts, a whole heap of different things. And make sure you share this on Twitter and Facebook, etc. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.